Welcome to a special event release of the Sound of Movement podcast. In this 7-part series, we will reveal why conventional stretching methods are dead and introduce you to the 5 steps to unlocking strength and flexibility in adulthood. Strap yourself in and get ready. This is the Flexibility Blueprint 2023 edition. Before we get started, as with all our blueprints, the 2023 edition is available to everyone for free, because my brother Yanni and I want to democratize health and fitness education to empower everyone to unleash their inner athlete by achieving the highest levels of health and athletic performance possible. So please support us by liking and leaving a comment. Give us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to, and please give us a Google review if you haven't done so already. And most importantly, if you learn something or benefit from this episode, chances are someone you know would too. So pretty please, with a sprinkle of sugar on top. Share the content with your inner circle by clicking that little button below the stream window on Spotify and then send it to one of your friends. Do that right now. It would mean the world to Yanni and I, and it will mean a lot to your friends. What's up, everybody? My name's Rad Burmeister. I'm joined by my brother Yanni Burmeister. We're the co-founders of Unity Gym and the Unify Movement System. And today we're talking about a very cool topic. This is point 1 of 5 points of the Flexibility Blueprint. And today's talk is all about pairing end range strength with loaded stretching. These are some pretty advanced concepts for me, considering that I did Kung Fu and I considered myself to be a flexible person for decades, but never learned anything about these. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to introduce it to you. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of an introduction of what end range strength is and what loaded stretching is, and then I'll throw it over to Yanni so we can have a little talk. So if we have a look here, this is the old hamstring muscle that you're about to see on screen. And if I want to get flexible in the hamstrings, end range strength looks like this of the opposing muscles. So the opposing muscles to the hamstrings are called the hip flexors and the quadriceps. But we're talking about the hip flexors, which are these muscles in here that are working in my hip. And so this is called an end range contraction because I'm at my end range. Those hip flexors are in a shortened state. It's very, very hard for me to contract them there. So this is what end range strength looks like. And if we jump forward, this is what loaded stretching looks like. So it's a load on my back. I'm stretching the hamstrings here and I have a load going on. We have another couple of examples of loaded stretching here with a Jefferson curl. So there's a load that's not only assisting to pull me down, so it helps me to go deeper into the stretch, but what it also does is it creates a really strong eccentric contraction and an isometric contraction. So that's end range strength for the opposing muscles and loaded stretching. And that's what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about how those two concepts are going to completely revolutionize the way that you do stretching. And I really mean this, going to give you a huge breakthrough in your flexibility training. That's what it did for us, didn't it, Yanni?
Absolutely. Look, this is a revolution. Whenever you see words like revolutionary or game changing, you kind of immediately cringe. But I really mean this. It's hard for me to write articles about this stuff, which I've been doing a lot of lately with the new Flexibility Blueprint, without using words like that, because the reality is that this was quite revolutionary for us in our training, especially, training as adults, where it just you're fighting against, because of the way that the flexibility adaptation process occurs, you are fighting decades of an inbuilt break that's been formed in your body to prevent you from harming yourself. So if you're quite stiff as a 40-year-old, which I certainly was, I only really started my flexibility training in my mid to late 30s. It was really difficult to break down, especially my hamstrings. I just felt like my hamstrings were never, ever going to get flexible. I would never be able to touch my toes, let alone do a chest to floor pancake, which is what I can do now. And I just didn't feel like, I used to actually say, and I even had a friend of mine who's a physiotherapist say to me, you have genetically tight hamstrings. There's nothing you can do about it. Some people are like that. You'll never, ever get flexible in the hamstrings. There's no point trying. You're just going to hurt yourself. Literally. And that was a friend of mine who I trained with for many, many years. And So I was almost going to give up until we introduced these methods to our program. And the reason why they work is because they hack that system that as an adult you've actually developed over a lifetime, which is the brain muscle connection, the nervous system and the brain talking to each other. And your brain sort of saying, hey, this is a dangerous position for us. We haven't developed strength, stability and flexibility or mobility in that range, so I'm not going to let you access it. And so when you try to stretch it, you just feel like you're banging your head against a brick wall. It just doesn't go anywhere. And you can stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch, and the results are like minuscule over weeks, months and years. It's the most frustrating experience. But when you combine these modern methods of pairing end range antagonist contractions with then immediately stretching the opposing agonist muscle, in this case the hamstrings, it instantly tires out, it sort of fatigues the Golgi tendon that is designed to prevent the stretch from occurring, and allows you to access a range instantly better than what you did before. And it's going to be varied for different people, but it is instantly better than what it was before. I can guarantee you that. Now, what ends up happening is that if you do that in a safe environment, that's what your brain needs to be convinced that this is actually safe. This is okay. This is a controlled exercise. We're not at risk here. We're not going to hurt ourselves. And when you repeat that process over and over again for a few weeks, the results are staggering. It really will blow your mind. It's quite phenomenal. So, I'm mentioning theories here, principles here that we discussed in the last episode. So if you didn't catch the second episode of this 7-part series, then I urge you to go back and catch the episode 2, where we talk about the flexibility adaptation principle, because that's really what I'm tiptoeing around here. And it's a good thing to understand. You don't have to understand it to get results, but it will make you go, oh, that's why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah, and this is for those folks who are at stage 2 flexibility. So people who have gotten comfortable with basic stretches and have hit a plateau. This is when you introduce this kind of stuff. And it's something that I first became aware of when I worked with a guy named Ido Portal, who he's now world famous within the movement community, at least. And that was the first workshop that I did with him when both of us were a bit younger there. Looking at that now, I think I was 37 there. So that's 8. Young, yeah, so that's 8 years ago now. And
I've got grey hair now.
Yeah. And that was the first time that I got exposed to loaded stretching. There was a bunch of movement. We didn't do end range strength at that workshop, but he did expose us to some loaded stretching, and basically just wrote off stretching the way that I knew it. And I came back really fired up from that workshop. And that, for me, there's a couple of events that happened that led to the birth of the UMS when Yanni and I have slightly different recollections of how it came about, but there's no doubt that my workshop with Ido Portal was one of the big catalysts for us to start researching how can we learn how to move better and not just focus on the one-dimensional way of training that Yanni and I had always focused on. Yanni being more about strength and me being more about martial arts back then. So yeah, this is some pretty cool stuff. We go deeper into this, way deeper, in the flexibility blueprint, which is going to be released in late September. You can check the description of this video or podcast for the exact release date, but that's what this whole series is all about. It's firing you up if you're listening to this or watching it on YouTube, to teach you how you can cut through everything that you're watching every day, every week on YouTube, trying to learn more about flexibility, but that's stifling your progress because you got all that information. And how does that get put into a program? How does it get put into an actionable plan that you can do and see a significant, improvement within 28 days? So we should probably give our final thoughts for this one, Yanni, and we can, you guys can get that flexibility blueprint. It's completely free, where we go way deeper into this concept.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think the big message that we're going to repeat through every episode here is that, you know, all of that information that you just spoke about here, the reality is that there's only a very small amount of it that's right for you at the stage that you're at right now. And the rest of it shouldn't go anywhere near your program. And so, you know, Rad said that this is a stage 2 method. You know, in the prior episode, we also talked about the load management principle. And using progressive overload is something that you should apply to all of your training, not just your strength training, not just your fitness training, you know, running, for example. If you're learning to run a marathon, you don't run a marathon on day one. You know, you probably only run a few kilometers on day one. Some people won't even run on day one. They'll be walking to build that conditioning up in their joints, tendons, ligaments, bones, and muscles. And then you slowly increase the load over time until you can run a marathon. It's the same with strength training. You know, you don't go in to do an 800-pound deadlift the first time you deadlift. You know, it takes years and years and years to build up to that level of load. And it's the same with stretching. You know, you need to start at stage 1 and learn mobility drills, learn to be comfortable with the idea of stretching, the feeling, the sensation, being able to determine whether you're feeling pain or just resistance in the muscle. That's very important. We get a lot of people at stage 1 because we say you never stretch to pain. You always only stretch to discomfort. The moment you stretch to pain, you're stifling the process because it's about the brain becoming comfortable with allowing you to access those new ranges of motion. The moment you feel pain, you're reinforcing to the brain that the restriction is right because it's preventing you from harming yourself. So people often ask us at stage 1, how do I know the difference between pain and discomfort? You don't know the difference. You're not ready for that level of training yet. You need to work up to it. And that's part of being a stage 1 and doing a 20-minute mobility routine as opposed to something like our flexibility masterclass.
Yep, that's it. Well, look, thanks, Tribe, for tuning into this. If you're listening on Spotify or wherever you like your podcasts, or if you're watching on YouTube, please take a moment to share this content. It will only take you a few seconds, but it means the world to us. So go ahead right now, hit that share button, copy the link, and paste it straight into a messenger or an SMS or an email, wherever you communicate with your friends, and just send it to somebody that you think would benefit from this, because we put a lot of effort in putting all this free content out there for those of you who it's just not within your budget to pay for coaching, and all that we ask in return is that you please share it with your friends. So go ahead, do that right now, hit that share button, copy the link, and send it forward to someone. It would mean everything to Yanni and me. And if you've got any questions, if you're watching on YouTube, hit us up in the comments and download that flexibility blueprint and learn the stage of flexibility that you're at and your next best step so that you can have a real breakthrough in the next 28 days. We'll see you in our next video. Hey, are you confused by all the free content you've tried on YouTube without getting the results you want? Our tribe thrives because we find what's right for each person's developmental stage. Then we cut out the irrelevant 80% of online information so they can double down on the 20% that matters most. If you want to learn what stage you're at and are ready to take action, then listen up, we can help. Just starting out and struggling to see results? Then you're at stage 1 and need to keep it simple. A gentle yet efficient whole body routine that ignites motivation by delivering instant results is the key. If you don't feel better after your first try, you're wasting your time. Our 20-minute mobility routine is perfect for you at stage 1. Stretching regularly but hitting roadblocks? Then you're at stage 2 and will benefit from targeting different muscles to unlock specific moves like back bridges or splits. It's time to challenge yourself. Ready for the next step? Our flexibility masterclass is your key. Flexible but need more strength, or strong but lacking flexibility? Whether you're super flexible but lack strength, or Hulk strong without functional flexibility, there's room to grow. And grow you must, because the depth of your stretches or the impressive plate stack on your barbell means stagnation at this stage risks serious injury. Integrating strength and flexibility is now essential and your next leap forwards. Our flagship online coaching system, the UMS Tribe membership, is your ideal solution to achieve peak performance in your best years. One simple subscription for everything we do. Knowing the 3 stages and what stage you're at in your flexibility journey can be the difference between frustrating plateaus, painful injuries, and monumental leaps forward in skill. Head over to unitygym.com to get started.